What's good everyone, Shara here bringing you guys another episode of my Balanced Freedom series. I haven't done an episode of this in a while because I've kind of been focusing on my joke videos, skit videos or whatever you want to call them, because they're the videos you guys seem to like the most. And I have spammed you guys with subscriber duels in these past 2 days because the subscriber duels that happened, as I've said before, that happened yesterday, which I took part in. Obviously they weren't the best. I didn't really want to give you guys a video each day of a subscriber duel that was just like me bricking or me dominating or like this normal average duel that isn't all that. So that's why I just decided to like upload them all, do some more subscriber duels maybe later on on this weekend or next weekend or whenever I find time, and then try and give you guys some better duels. So the card we're going to be talking about today is Future Fusion. So Future Fusion, if you don't know, it got its errata a while ago. It got its errata when it got printed in Duelist Saga. So that's why I have a copy of this, because I did buy Duelist Saga, if you guys don't know. So its errata basically says that unlike the old Future Fusion, you send the monsters on the standby phase after its activation rather than on the activation, making it a lot more balanced, because what people would do with Future Fusion previously is that they would activate Future Fusion, send a kabillion dragons, a kabillion is officially a number, guys, a billion dragons to the graveyard. Then if it ended up resolving, which it didn't, most of the time it didn't, they'd get a 500 dragon, but the point was to send the dragons to the graveyard in Chaos Dragons and then be able to summon back your Light Pulsars, summon your Red Eyes Dragons, Metal Dragons, send your Eclipse Wyverns to banish stuff. And that's why Future Fusion got bad, because Chaos Dragons were extremely strong, which is obviously understandable, because Future Fusion was just like Foolish Burial times 5, which, considering Foolish Burial is limited right now, it kind of says something, doesn't it? Plus the fact that you could potentially get the Fusion monster is something else. So Future Fusion gets its errata, obviously, that it happens in the next turn, so your opponent has the chance to destroy it. They have a free turn space basically on the turn you activated their turn, and then the time before it resolves, like if they MST in your standby phase or something, then you don't get to send stuff. So they have a few turns to kind of stop that, but it just put pressure on the board. So I believe Future Fusion right now it is limited. They tried to bring it back to 1, which is fine, but I believe it can come back to 3, because at 1 it's kind of niche. Some people will say, oh yeah, but you can search it off Darlington or Cobra. But if you're playing a deck that plays Darlington or Cobra, most of the time you're gonna want to search the better fusion, Brilliant Fusion, because especially going into link format, the Predaplant engine is going to be really good, because although you're playing 2 Garnets, as in like Garnet plus Darlington Cobra, and potentially 1000 Blades and Trick Clouds, potentially 4 Garnets, it's still worth the risk, because being able to go into Decode Torko or like Firewall Dragon or Topologic Bomber Dragon off 1 card, opening up your link zones is extremely powerful. So the argument that you can search our Predaplant engine isn't the best, because you don't want to be searching it if you're playing the Predaplant engine, because if you're playing the Predaplant engine, you are most of the time playing a pretty extremely viable deck, and Future Fusion is one of the cards that bumps up decks that aren't as viable. So I think Future Fusion can come back, because it really can help out a lot of decks. For example, because Grass got hit, Infernoids aren't doing anything because of the bricks with Grass, because you had free Grass, you were willing to take the risks. But now nobody's willing to take the risks with Infernoids, and I'm not, because I tried to play them. I was just like, this deck is so boring. I'm breaking like 2 out of 5 games, and I'm just like, what's the point? Waste of time. But people aren't willing to take the risk, because they're just like, yes, I can draw Godly, but most of the time I'm not going to draw Godly and I'm going to break. So they said, but people would take the risk before, because if Grass is that free Grass is basically a win condition, then I'm willing to take some bricks if I can get a win condition a lot of the time. So Future Fusion can open up that thing where I'll play a less viable deck, but because Future Fusion's around, it helps me to be able to play properly. So Future Fusion, if you don't know, Cyberdogs got support, and Future Fusion is really good in Cyberdogs, because it's summoning their big boss monster, which is Cyber Darkness Dragon, requires 5 Cyber Dark monsters, so it's really hard to summon. But Future Fusion can just dump them all in the graveyard, then you can overload Fusion for it, so making Cyberdogs a lot more viable. So Future Fusion does deserve to come back to 3, because it isn't as strong as before, because obviously you don't get the mills. It can easily be disrupted, and it's a healthy card, because it says, okay, I'm going to activate this, you have a few turns to stop it. If you don't stop this, I am going off. and I really love that. That is cool. So decks that it could potentially be used in is Cyberdogs, as explained. Another deck that I personally use it in is to summon so I reveal 5-headed dragon, and then I send multiple copies. If you watch one of my profiles, then you've probably seen me explain it. I send multiple copies of Felgrand and Archgrave. So what I'll do is I'll normally have 1 Felgrand in the graveyard, then on Future Fusion I'll send 3 Archgraves, so 2 Felgrands, and then I'll get all 3 Felgrands back. But the issue with that is Future Fusion is basically like Soul Charge in this instant, where you draw it, it's good, but unfortunately it's more of a look-based card. But if you play 3 copies of it, nobody can complain that you've drawn it, because obviously with 3 copies of a card in the deck, you are going to see it a lot of the time. Plus the fact that it is searchable off the Predaplant engine can help a bit, because you might want to tech the Predaplant engine in just to make sure you can turbo into Future Fusion, but obviously you don't want to do that because the Predaplant engine causes bricks, and when you're playing less viable decks, then you don't want to have more bricks. So it can be used in Felgrand, it can be used even Chaos Dragons. It would be really nice to see Chaos Dragons come back, because Chaos Dragons don't rely off the extra deck too much. They summon cards like M7, maybe Minerva sometimes, but they kind of rely off like Envoy, Chaos Sorcerer, Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, Light Pulsar, Dark Flare. So it's kind of more of a fun deck. I really think Future Fusion should come back, because any card that helps out rogue decks is really healthy for the game. No meta deck should be able to abuse it, because meta decks are normally like, here's my first turn board, or here's my second turn board to out your first turn board, let's go at it. If we don't have good starting turns, I've lost. Future Fusion is more of a card where, okay, I'm going to put this on the field, I'm going to put a little bit of advantage on the board, put a bit of pressure on you, hopefully it survives till next turn, and then I'll be able to go off and do my plays. So the fact that it happens 1 turn later makes this card 100% balanced, and it's not doing anything that one. Nobody is willing to play this card because they have to play less viable decks, plus it's limited. So hopefully Konami will realise that this card needs to come back to 3 for it to be good, and they will bump it up to 3. I decided to do Boundless Freedom on it because I thought it's an iconic card. Zane used it in the show. Yeah, he used it in the show to send a load of his Cyber Dragons and then obviously banish them off or get them back or whatever. Or I think what he do is Future Fusion. Future Fusion had a different effect where it couldn't attack the turn, but you still got to send the stuff, and then he used something like Cybernetic Fusion support and then use like Power Bond and summon his big Cyber End Dragon and win the game. So it's a pretty iconic card, and obviously a lot of people would love to see this card come back to 3. I would love to see this card come back to 3. I think it would really make Felgrand Dragons fun to play, really viable. You could even take it in Blue Eyes if you want, because you could potentially send like 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon to the graveyard, and then summon your Neo later on, or even getting 3 copies of Blue Eyes in the graveyard is pretty cool. Not the most viable version, but you guys know what I mean. You can potentially put this in a lot of decks, maybe even like DDDs or something like that, just to like get stuff in the graveyard. Like, it's just a really nice card just to set up plays for your next turn, and any card that helps you later on rather than cards like Zodiac Brawl, which is just like, you are investing all your resources into this, you are summoning a load of monsters, and you're going to win on this turn. Rather than cards that are broken like that, cards that are fair and balanced like Future Fusion definitely deserve to come back. And I personally think that I don't like erratas, but this is definitely one of the better erratas with Dark Magician of Chaos. Dark Magician of Chaos was another really good errata because it made it once per turn and it made it add in the end phase, but it still gave the card the overall thing of what it did. Cards like, it didn't do what it did to like Crush card, where it was just like, I completely destroyed what you used to do. You can still recognize that it's Future Fusion. All it looks like is, it looks like it's being nerfed a lot more from the anime to make it viable. So thank you guys for watching.